You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. And thanks as always for making us your first listen. Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase with the only Chris Level. I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, great to be back with you and back with the audience. Hope you guys checked out the reaction episode talking hoops following the Red Raiders win in their season opener over Bethune-Cookman. Dropped that one last night. Get into it if you have not seen it so far. On this episode, to kick off the day, we will be back in a football frame of mind as we're looking ahead to the Colorado Buffaloes that come into town. And want to talk a little bit specifically today, Chris, about the history between these two coaches, what that could mean for Saturday, and one thing that Joey McGuire had to say about a guy that we'll see in gold and black or some variation thereof coming up on Saturday evening. But first, let's begin by taking a listen to Colorado head coach. Maybe you've heard his name before, Deion Sanders, talking about the history and the relationship with your head coach, Joey McGuire.
Daunting task, team coming off a huge, I don't call it upset because I know Joey and I know they felt like they were going to go in there and do what they did, and they did. Tremendous friend of mine, Texas Tech. I love him. I loved him ever since he was at Cedar Hill. You got to understand, man, Joey at Cedar Hill and probably all ethnic team area, and he was dominant, won state titles, well-respected in the community, well-respected amongst his peers. He was like the grand poobah, or the magna cum laude of the district of coaches. He ran everything, man, and when we needed 7-on-7 games, he gave them to us when we couldn't find anybody to play at certain points in time. But he was always upstanding and forthright, going to the Under Armour All-American games, watching him get after it, watching him coach at extreme level. And he sent a plethora, I don't know how many young men that he's responsible for getting and assisting them to get to college from the team that he had at Cedar Hill. I was over there, got to know him because my son Bucky played in his organization, and just a pillar of consistency, commitment, and he was a dog. Like Joey, what you see is what you get. He don't mince words. He's straightforward. He keep it 100, and I consider him a true friend and someone I could call and lean on to understand how this college thing works at sometimes, because, I'm still new to this, although I'm true to this. I still need him and various coaches at times to lean on. But I'm sure he's going to have those young men ready, and I can't wait to see him and hug his neck. Usually I don't really, get down like that with other coaches for the game, but I'm definitely going to look him up to try to embrace him with him, because it's going to be fun. I'm just happy that I'm getting the opportunity to be on that stage with a man that I've respected for quite some time.
Chris, go back to Big 12 Media Days. You recall, I'm sure, Coach McGuire talking in very fawning terms about Coach Sanders and he reciprocating that. Kind of interested to hear about the history they've got one another. And, of course, as it relates to my own selfish rooting interests, I'm really interested to see if there's any type of advantage, disadvantage. Is this useful? Is this neutral? How do you kind of gauge the fact that maybe among head coaching matchups we'll see for Texas Tech this year, this one by far, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this one by far has a much different history to it or tinge to it between those two?
Yeah, ever since Joey got here and then Deion Sanders entered the equation in the Big 12, or that you knew Colorado was going to join the Big 12, or however you want to phrase that. In my conversations with Joey, whether it be before an interview or during his coach's show, whatever it may be, anytime Deion's name would get brought up, there's always a level of respect there, and just because I think they've known each other for a long time. I think Joey treated this situation to be able to coach his kid, Bucky, who does a lot of social media and video stuff up there in Boulder now. I think he treated it as an honor to be coaching one of Deion's kids. And I think, Joey pointed this out earlier in the week, which I thought was funny. He's like, I've dealt with a lot of helicopter parents, man, a lot. And he wasn't one of them. And he kind of went into some detail there. But I think there's probably a mutual, respect for each other, respect for the game, respect for trying to help young people and be around young people and mold young people and all those things. And that's, because there's been some other coaches on your schedule that I don't think there's the same mutual respect or love or admiration or however you want to phrase it, even though everybody may say the right thing.
Are you referencing some acrimony or beef, or just like not knowing one another?
I'll just leave it at that.
Well, you can. I'm asking you the question, Chris. You can't.
Yeah, I know. You people can, I don't know if there's necessarily some, some beef or anything like that. I think there's some mutual respect with most folks, but I think this is different. That's part of what I'm trying to say. Yeah. This is different, and I would ask you, like, when is your first memory of Colorado's head coach as a player? Do you? I mean, when
fist fight with Andre Rison. Hated him as a San Francisco 49er, and then Jerry broke out the big checkbook. Loved him as a Dallas Cowboy.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
stepping into the end zone.
And I was a huge fan of Deion as an athlete. Loved him. I think Tim McCarver's an idiot. I love the fact that he could play a baseball. What a playoff baseball game, I think. And
he was a unicorn. Yeah, I mean, him
and the greatest American athletes of all time.
Him and Bo Jackson were like two guys that I thought.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I think in some ways he's kind of coaching, a semi-unicorn now and Travis Hunter, but we're talking Deion. But yeah, that was I followed him with the Falcons and obviously hated him with the Niners too, because San Francisco was really good and I, you and I both grew up Cowboy fans, and when he was with Dallas.
He interfered and was holding Michael Irvin all day in the NFC Championship game that one year, and we know it.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And he was as good as he was, because he could cover half the field. He would make some business decisions when it came to tackling.
That's how good he was, that he was afforded the opportunity to make those decisions.
And nobody, that's right. That's right. Yeah, when he was playing for like the Ravens at the tail end, he really didn't want to tackle then.
Redskins, he wound up on a couple of different rosters.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But it's so he's known Coach McGuire. I mean, this goes way back, and I think I was curious. I know what Joey has always stated, whether it be privately or publicly, and I think Deion was maybe even more over the top than I would have ever anticipated about Coach McGuire, and it just says a lot about both guys, and that part makes it fun. In that there's a mutual respect. And I think you heard Deion say, we get to share the stage together in what is a very meaningful game. The college football playoff rankings come out last night, and Colorado, is at 20, I think, to start, which again, this whole thing it's just a worthless exercise. The whole TV, we're going to have a teleconference, we're going to explain, and we're not going to make any sense. We're going to just throw up some stuff and tell you, yeah, this is just how they felt. But bottom line is, Colorado is much better than anybody would have thought. And I think Deion Sanders deserves a lot of credit, as does his son, Shedeur Sanders, and people like Travis Hunter, and on it goes. But I think it's fun that these two guys really genuinely, I don't think this is fake at all. This isn't for some TV camera. This isn't for some whatever. And I think Deion said, he's like, I usually don't get down with that, man, with like other coaches and stuff, because I can't wait to hug the guy's neck. I mean, I know what he's about. I know what he tries to do to help young people and all those things. And so I think that's a lot of fun. And in a weird way, when they're not playing you.
First, today's episode brought to you by Hims. Sometimes intimate moments happen spontaneously, and we always want to be ready and at attention. Hims provides access to treatments that can help you stay ready for the call of duty anytime, giving you the boost of confidence you need to be at your best. Ever feel like you need a little boost? It's time to stop worrying and get Hims. Hims is changing men's healthcare by providing you with access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort of your couch. Plus, the process is 100% online, so there's no need for uncomfortable doctor's visits. Just answer a series of questions on their site, and a medical provider will determine the right treatment option. If prescribed, your medication ships directly to you in discreet packaging for free. No insurance needed, and one low price covers everything from treatments to ongoing care. With hundreds of thousands of trusted subscribers, Hims can help you find the option that works for you. So start your free online visit today at hims.com/lockedon. That's HIMS.com/lockedon for your personalized treatment options at hims.com/lockedon. The products mentioned are chewable compounded products which are not approved by or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See our website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle all the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. And right now, new customers can bet only $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL and a whole lot more, all in one place. So when you get a hunch, a gut instinct in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more, all on the same page where you place your bet. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a gut feeling again, and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
And in a weird way, when they're not playing you, it kind of like makes you hate Colorado less, or maybe go, okay, when they're put up against whatever, because this guy, he likes my guy, and so maybe I don't hate them as much. Or maybe when they're against this team, like I got reason. I don't know if that sways anybody's opinion. Some people, there's not a lot of middle ground here on Deion Sanders and the Buffs. I mean, you still got the sunglasses, and you got the necklaces, and you got the shiny this and that. And Deion says some interesting things. I mean, at times, really, I guess every day. But yeah, I think that as far as the Texas Tech head man and the Colorado head man, they are simpatico for sure.
Yeah, I was in awe of him, and I guess I would count myself a fan of him as an athlete. As a head coach, I've been stunned by how sensitive he is, and maybe what he views as the media's role through his eyes, in that they're like supposed to be believers in his message or something, which I think is strange. He's not the only coach to feel that way, but it's always kind of like, well, you're not coaching us. I don't have to believe your message. I'm just observing what's happening. What does it matter what I believe anyway? But you remember the first game after Texas Christian. Are you a believer now? Then they go on to do Bupkis the remainder of the year.
Yeah.
So he gets out over his skis. Yeah, he keeps receipts. He gets out over his skis a little bit. As a coach, I do not identify with what you were saying in the sense that it makes me hate him less that he feels one way about Joey. I don't care how he feels about Joey McGuire. I'm not going to root for his son. It's mostly the son that annoys me more than anything. But some of the stuff that Deion said as a coach have just been all-time hilarious lines. Like, I'm here for the car crash, the big top circus, all that. I'm thrilled he's still there. Whenever Colorado makes their first return to Lubbock as a Big 12 member, thrilled he's still there as the Big 12 coach, or as a head coach in the Big 12. It's going to be a lot of fun. But his whole, one of the most insane speeches that I've ever seen a new coach give to a team. I brought my luggage, and it's Louis. I mean, I'll never forget that line. So, do I believe in him as a head coach, or do I buy into what he's selling? Not necessarily, but I do buy a ticket to the carnival. There's no doubt about that. Absolutely no doubt about that. But I'm rooting against him every week. There's also no doubt about that. But I really wonder, Chris, from a football sense, is there anything for either coach to take away from that familiarity that's useful? You think it's a total wash, like it's always just been coach and parent, or, football friend to football friend? Is there anything at all about, the characteristic of what maybe Dion does as a coach or Joey does as a coach that the other one could use actually on Saturday?
I really don't think so. I tell you what, though, is that, I mean, I guess in some ways, maybe is this a disadvantage for Texas Tech? I don't know. I mean, semantics maybe, but I think Dion said it. He's like, I know this man, and I know he will have his kids ready. And so I know what he's about. I know that it probably wasn't an upset to them, but I know that when we show up, we're going to get tacos thrown at us or whatever he called it, tortillas and all
fajitas, that. He gets fajitas also.
Yeah, he's like,
that'd be assault.
Is that legal? Can you do that? Yeah. So I think you're not going to sneak up on these guys at all, but you weren't. There was none of that at play in general, but I think there's probably a level because of I know this person, I know what he's about, know what he stands for, I know how he coaches. I know his kids will want to run through a wall for him. So, gentlemen, you better be ready. I mean, that's kind of so I guess in so many ways you could argue that it may be, and I don't want to say it works against you. It's not what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's not that big of a deal, but
yeah. Yeah. And I think what's interesting is that theoretically this really is, and I guess you can't necessarily label it this way because there's a few caveats here and there, but essentially this is kind of a Big 12 title elimination game.
Yeah.
The loser of this game, I think that you just may need so much help that I just don't know if you could still have a chance to make it to Arlington. And Dion was asked about like something about hey, because I think Dion has said too before, like, don't vote for us on the rankings. We don't want to be ranked. We're just fine under the radar. We're just fine this. But there's also the component of you're everybody else's Super Bowl. And you're because say whatever you want, but this game was the first game sold out for Texas Tech months and months ago. And it's been sold out for months. And
well, everybody wants to crack at the guys that do the most talking. I mean,
sure.
That's just the way it's always going to be. And that's Colorado.
And they want to see the circus.
And you want to see Deion Sanders in your stadium. I mean, there's also that novelty factor also.
And whatever other interesting folks would be on the sideline.
Yeah, maybe one of the Migos.
But
I'm sure Chris would be really interested.
Well, the Yin Yang twins will be there. Although I don't know. Yeah, that's right. But you'll have, I think there's potentially going to be some former players from your standpoint. I don't think Byron Hanspard will be there, but you could have some other famous, running backs of yours from days gone by on the sideline and all that stuff. There's a lot going on here, but bottom line is this is a game when you make it about the football.
Yeah.
This is, essentially an elimination game. And I would just offer this up to you. Colorado, they lost their first road game of the year at Nebraska, I think it was. They lost like 28-10, okay? They have since gone on to win their next 3 road games by, I think, 19 points and then by 27 points and by 27. I mean, folks, they went to Arizona and they destroyed the Wildcats. They went to Orlando and they worked UCF over. So they're on a 3-game winning streak on the road, and these games have not been close after they got it handed to them versus Nebraska. Now, what's interesting is Nebraska's kind of hit the skids a little bit. They've just hired Dana Holgerson.
It's got beat by UCLA.
Yeah.
Hey,
So
I wonder too, as you bring up Nebraska, you think a father and son have been sharing a phone call or two this week with Joey and Garrett McGuire being yes, assistant.
And then father and former boss and Matt Rule. I'm sure absolutely
they had a recipe that day. I mean,
how did you hold them to 10?
But
yes,
they had a recipe that day.
Yeah, and we will talk more about this as we go, but. I just think there's a lot on the line and there's a lot of mutual respect, and this game is extremely relevant. Hence the Big Noon kickoff show showing up. I mean, I was over there yesterday, and they're building a big set over in the green space, and got all these folks coming into town to talk about this deal, and it's just one of many potential distractions. But this is kind of what has followed Colorado around since he's gotten there. Talking about Deion Sanders, and I would say this: it's like the car wreck that you can't take your eyes off of. But I'm always intrigued when he speaks. I think there's some things he said that I would agree with, and some things that he said that I wouldn't agree with, or the way he's dealt with certain things. But I would offer this up. I think he's really good for college football, and more specifically, I think he's really good for the Big 12.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, that part I'm leaning
TV
into.
ratings gold, right? I mean, just
and I think he makes people care, and I think plenty of people sit at home and go, I wish those Colorado Buffaloes would lose. And other people are like, I love the guy. Like, I mean, I'm not even I didn't graduate from Colorado, but I'm a Buffs fan, whatever. But there's a level of, I don't know, Duke or Yankees or Cowboys or something kind of going on here where people are going to have an opinion one way or the other. But
I mean, he'll say something. You're like, all right, was that pretty smart? You'll say something. You're like, I don't know if I agree with that. And then he'll say something else. And you just discover it's just a rhyme and nothing beyond a rhyme. He's new to this, but he's true to this. What does it mean? It means absolutely nothing, but it sounds great, like in the style of a Baptist preacher. Before we get out of here, just one more thought on a comment from Joey McGuire this week. Said the guy that's going to be under or behind center on Saturday is the best quarterback in the country, in Shadur Sanders. And we'll get into, before the week is up, what Texas Tech will be trying to do to combat that. But I don't know what I expected, but I felt like I was a little surprised to hear him just say that. This is the number one quarterback. This is the best dude in the country. What'd you make of that comment?
Joey first said this I first heard him say this, I think, on Big 12 radio with the new tune-in show that they do in the mornings. He said this in passing about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And I think it was maybe before the Baylor game, and he was talking about Baylor, and they just lost to Shadur and all that, and that Hail Mary and all that stuff. And I think he kind of mentioned it then, but he hasn't backed off of it since. It's just when you deal with a guy that's got some measurables like Shadur Sanders does, and he's got a rocket arm.
First, today's episode brought to you by ZBiotics. ZBiotics Pre Alcohol Probiotic Drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. So just remember to make ZBiotics your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you're going to feel your best tomorrow. So go to zbiotics.com/lockedoncollege to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use our code LOCKEDONCollege at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with 100% money-back guarantees. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they're going to refund your money. No questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/lockedoncollege and use the code LOCKEDONCollege at checkout for 15% off. Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Never sweat buying tickets to your favorite event again with Game Time. It's always a breeze using the Game Time app, where you're going to find the best last-minute deals, and I love being able to scout out a view from any seat before pulling the trigger. And of course, you're always doing it at the lowest price guaranteed. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event and even an hour after it begins, which means you can finish off that final brat, that final beer at your own pace at the tailgate, because Game Time is the place to find last-minute seats to any event. Game Time gives you the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets, but not just fast, also secure and simple to use. So right now, download the Game Time app and create an account and use our promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem our code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today for last-minute tickets at the lowest price, guaranteed.
when you deal with a guy that's got some measurables like Shedeur Sanders does, and he's got a rocket arm, and he's added some weight, and he's got some confidence in his own abilities, but he's able to extend the play. And this isn't necessarily a guy that is, running around to run. I mean, he's running with his eyes down the field, but there's just not many guys that can make some of the throws that he can make. And the longer you give him, you are playing with fire. It's like leaving Kerwin Walton open behind the arc. Like, okay, you do you, man, but it may not end well for you. And that's why it's a non-negotiable. You will not win this game. You will not if you don't make him uncomfortable, hit him some, mix in a turnover, something. If he's allowed to just kind of move freely about the – in other words, if this is Abilene Christian or if this is Baylor, you forget it. Save your money. Don't go see the circus. Stay at home. Buy something else. Whatever. It won't end well. It's just not. Because what his Louis that's been brought here that's playing with him. Some of these dudes are way better than what you faced. That he's throwing to. There's not necessarily a ton of size. I just think that there's a lot of speed and a lot of quickness. And if you allow him to survey the field and go through any kind of progression, you're hosed, man. It is curtains. But the offensive line in front of him is better than last year, but it's not all world. There's some youth. There's some I think movement up front gives them a lot of trouble at times. And things like that. But you've got to make Shedeur. He's been sacked, I think, the most of any quarterback in the Big 12, 26 times. And that you've got to add to that total. And that's not necessarily been something you've been great at, but this will be a problem for you. And you can still, play well and get to him almost, and he can still make some plays. We saw that some last week with Rocco Beck. There was plenty of plays that you almost made. Like you're hanging off of him and he throws it away or completes the pass or whatever it may be. So,
yeah, it also seems like, too, if you can find a way to get after him, frustrate him a little bit, that he's a guy that's impacted by that also between the years. So hopefully you're able to do that early and often, but only time will tell. Still some time this week to get into the Red Raiders and Buffs and how Texas Tech is looking to pull this one off on Saturday. So hope you'll join us for that coming up. Chris, appreciate your time as always, man. Enjoyed it, and we'll see you for the next one.
Yeah, man. Enjoy the Wednesday, everyone. Appreciate it. Busy week continues, and we'll be right here on Locked On Texas Tech. Thanks to everybody for watching us, and saw some folks at the arena last night that watched this lovely show. So we appreciate you being a part of what we do here on Locked On Texas Tech, man. But guns up, or I don't know what you call that, like the double. Double there we go.
Guns up, baby.
Bang, bang. Yes. Yep. But keep hope alive, everybody. And we'll see you somewhere maybe later this week at a Texas Tech venue. How about that?
That's right. Get subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss an episode. Appreciate you being out there, especially those everydayers, for always being there to mix it up with us. For Chris, I'm Casey. Thanks for the time, and we hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.